Hi everyone, this is Gladys. In this video, I'm going to talk about the OGX pricing proposals. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on the methodologies and the pricing proposals so that you have a better understanding on how we use the methods to come to the conclusions. So first is methodologies. Learning from our lesson from last time, we realized that just relying on one model can be risky because there may be estimation errors and it may not be accurate. So that's why this time we added 3 other methodologies, which include the ISO International Global Pricing Tool, the cost analysis, and inflation. So the first model is market research. So the main purpose of this market research was to identify services customers perceived that ISO New Zealand has provided to them and services they cared about. So the services we identify from this customer research will be put into the competitor analysis. And the second one is the competitors. So the purpose is to identify services that we did not provide before. And these services will also be added into the competitor analysis so that we can see how we are doing in the market. After that, we are going to do evaluations comparing with our competitors. And we are going to identify competitors that are rated lower than us. The reason we chose to compare with the competitors who are lower than us is because if those competitors rated lower than us and they still charge higher than us, then it means that we need to raise our price. So after that, we compare with those competitors' prices and identify the average price after deducting their profits. The downside of this model is that the evaluations can be subjective. So here's the result of OGV. As you can see, there are 3 organizations, companies that were rated lower than us. One thing to notice, Pod Volunteer is another nonprofit organization. Their scores are lower than us, but they charge higher price than us. So here you can see it's $1,022. Well, if we consider all 3 organizations and deducting the profits, and it's 15% for these 2 companies, then our average price will be $1,330. For OGT, we compare with IEP New Zealand. Again, this is a for-profit company, and so we subtract the 15% profit and came into the conclusion that we need to charge at least $1,445 for OGT. So that's the market research model. The second method was ISO International Global Pricing Tool. So this pricing tool is a huge database. It has data from 127 countries. It put the data from each country and transit into euros. So they collect the average prices of similar entities in regard to all these 5 factors. And then we put the weighted importance of each factor and calculate the weighted average price that is best for New Zealand. The downside of this model is that the exchange rate they used was in 2015, so the prices are inaccurate. However, it is still a good reference for us since it considers all these factors. So learning from this model, the conclusion was that the best price for OGV would be $965 New Zealand dollars. For OGT is $1,160. this is the second model. The third model is the cost analysis model, which is pretty hard to do because different years we have different performance and different leaders have different expenditures. So it is pretty hard to do this model. And the fact that Isaac is a service not-for-profit organization, in order to identify the cost, it is really hard to do it like by per product. It is easier to do it with the big picture, with the total expenditures. So in order to do that, we have to have an estimate of the budget. So basically, I have to predict the expenditures based on the past 8 years and identify the revenues based on past 5 years. After that, I drafted a rough budget and run the budget with different prices. And last but not least, I identified the prices that will lead to the minimum surplus of $4,785, which is the average international affiliation fee that Isaac New Zealand has to pay in order to be an entity. The downside of this model is that the expenditures were based on estimates. It's not accurate. But again, for the purpose of the pricing proposal, this can be a good reference. So first, as you can see, to go in depth into this model, this is the expense analysis. So I calculated the average cost of past 7 years rather than 8 years because 2016 to 2017 the accounting the audit we were not like fully finished the audit. So this is not the whole year's expenditure. I calculated based on past 7 years and adjust expenditures to meet the average percentage within 2% variance of that specific expenditures over the total. But please know that MC 1718 will not finish the planning until June the 30th. So the budget here is purely estimations based on past years. For the calculation purpose. So the specific numbers are inaccurate. So, next is the performance analysis. So I analyze based on past 5 years' performance and predict the worst case scenario. The reason why I identify the worst case scenario is because I need to identify the bottom line. If we only perform with this worst case, we are still able to cover our costs, then this price is the optimal option. So based on this past 5 years performance, I identified the worst case scenario will be this situation. So next, when I run the different prices, I use the previous expenditures. And performance assumption if we have this many. So running different budgets, I concluded that this package would be the optimal price for us if we want to have this surplus, this ending surplus. Okay, the next model is inflation. So I consulted my accountant's relative to calculate that. She said it's better to use the minimum hourly wage to calculate inflation, so I did that. So as you can see, there's the minimum wage per hour in the past 5 years and the calculated inflation rate. So like this is the price 5 years ago. So this will be year by year, this will be our price after 5 years. But the downside of this model is that it did not consider the market condition, and we were relying on the original price, which we do not really know the clear reasoning behind that, so it can be a little biased. But again, this is another reference for our pricing proposal. So after the 4 models, you can see our pricing proposals. So these are the prices suggested by different models, as I explained before. As you can see, I added Australia, as Australia's price as an additional factor. The reason is because it is easily be compared with when customers make decisions, as these two countries are pretty close to each other. Yeah. The second reason is that the price balances up the calculation. Otherwise, all suggested proposals for OGV will be above $1,100, which is pretty high and a little unrealistic. So even though it may be controversial to add this as a new factor, but for the calculation purpose, it is beneficial to us. So as I said before, in order to split the risks by just relying on one model, we put the risk into 5 baskets. So the first pricing proposal is an even focus. We give even weight to each model or factor. So this is the weighted average price for the even focus. The second pricing proposal is a market focus. As you can see, we put more weights on market. So this is the weighted average price by market focus. The third pricing proposal is cost focus. So we put more focus on the costs. And this is the suggested price. So here you can see these are the 3 proposals plus number 4, the average of all 3. So this is the election result by the MC members. There are 10 MC members participating in this election, and here are the election results. Rodrigo pointed out a really good point that OGE is very different from the other 2 programs, given the fact that it is, even though it is unpaid, it is pretty hard to source opportunities in startups in other countries. So we need to make the distinction between OGV and OGE. So a good way to put their price is an intermediate price between these 2. So yeah, so that's why I propose to set OGE to be $1,100. So it is up to you which one you would like. Last but not least is the second exchange price and IXP. So for the second exchange price, it is mainly designed for back-to-back exchange. So Jonas pointed out a really good point that from our perspective, when we help an intern or volunteer to go to another country to do back-to-back exchange, our job was not doubled. So it doesn't make sense for us to charge them with twice the price. So that's why we propose to have this much discounts for back-to-back exchange or second exchange. The reason it's $460 was because we propose to have $230 off before for second exchange. So right now, if they go for another one, we decided to have twice the discounts for them. So that's $230 times 2. So that's $460 off. So for GV, it's a back-to-back, it would be $1,500 for them. For GE back-to-back, it will be this much. As for IXP price, we decided to decide it later until spring call. And the reason is because it's kind of like a binding contract for the country if we decide to have to have a set IXP price. But we are not sure if we are able to afford the discounts throughout the year. So that's why we will need to review it to September. So, but no worries for the current, like from now on to spring call, you can still enjoy the current membership discounts. So I think that's all with this presentation. Please let me know if you have any question, and I will be happy to answer your questions. Thank you for your time.